I really appreciate you making it clear your mission, and I think that it's going to be important for people to realize the distinction between people that, especially as these plant-based medicines become more and more legalized in other states, the distinction between the use as a sacrament and the people that recreationally use and use it to be high and whatever, and how important that distinction is. So I appreciate that.
This is a cool one, Adam, because we've already had you on, 3 times with Tiffany and then Patricio to kind of tell us, like, how you got to where you are with plant-based medicine and stuff like that. But we have a special guest host with us tonight, which is Zen in the Car alumni Jason Patrick. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Daniel, how you doing, buddy?
Doing the best I can. It's episode 22222.
Yeah.
Two
Nick
two two.
Libya. Is it Nick Libya tonight, Nick?
Oh, you sure? Let's go with that.
Yeah, is that right, Dave? Nick Libya?
Sure.
So yeah, Adam, we wanted to jump right into it to give you a chance to go ahead and there's
There.
his camera.
Adam,
There's this
back.
video.
Hi,
Don't
Adam.
sneeze.
Can you see
So
me?
Yeah.
yeah,
How you
So-
doing?
Okay.
Good to
Wonderful,
see you.
wonderful.
man,
Yes.
we're happy to have you back. As all of us at Team Zen, we've been dealing with you behind the curtain and behind the scenes since September, Dave.
Yeah, something like that.
So we've been following things closely with what's going on with you, but of course the listeners don't because we had to cut off the 3 interviews a couple months ago, which the links will be to those previous interviews in the Christ box below. But Adam, we kind of intimated in the last few episodes that your calling in life with plant-based medicine and your First Amendment with your Native American beliefs was eventually going to bring you into a run-in with the authorities in the state of
Yeah.
Arizona. So want to go ahead and open it up to you and let you tell that story as far as like what however you want to build up to make it as epic as all. Now make it realistic. But you were minding your business from everything that we had spoken about earlier, doing your spiritual beliefs and your spiritual practices, and you can pick it up wherever you think it's sufficient for the listeners to know how you came under the crosshairs of the state of Arizona.
Okay. So for more detailed, I guess you could watch the previous videos and interviews. But yes, correct. It this way of life, we can say indigenous to nature, or the profound ways of the natural world have that I know no difference. Like, this is working with herbs, medicines, people, the land, the natural world has been my nature ever since I was born. I was raised on alternative medicines, herbal medicines, and only taken to the clinical doctors a few times throughout my life for checkups and exams and whatnot. Um, let's see. So, basically, as every teen growing up, without going all the way back from birth, but is exploratory with some kind of alcohol, potentially drugs, or plant medicines. Um, for me, it was about the plant medicines. It was about the further studies and deepening in how plant medicines could help my consciousness, help my health, help the things that I went through as a young man and growing up, which, in the previous videos, I'm talking about some of the trauma, some of the stress, some of the PTS, things of that nature that might occur in one's life. So at a very young age, I found plant medicines, through my family, through the community. And let's see, what I began to do in my life is seek for the initiations of that way of life, of working with plant medicines, because I realized at a young age that this had to be an initiate course of life that I had to do this. These are very serious allies and plant allies. So it's something that I needed to train in, that I needed to work in, to do my studies, research and development, and working with many cultures, all the way from South America, Central America, North America, that work with these plant medicines or herbal medicines or the natural ways of healing. And actually, tell you the truth, it's not even something that, I walked away. It came to me, the plant medicines came to me and said, we're here to help you. And I'm like, no way, Jose. People came to me and I said, I cannot help you. I don't want to help you. No way, Jose. This isn't something that I signed, I was like, yes, I'm going to do this. It was divinely orchestrated and brought to me. Like the first cactus medicines were brought to me. I custodian and safeguarded the peyote and San Pedro medicines for 10 years minimum prior to ever being initiated with ceremony or going into a ceremonial space with these plant medicines. So, long story short, I went through many initiations, a lot of trainings throughout North, South, Central America. And part of my duties with the common people or the indigenous and non-indigenous people and families and state, county government, federal governments was to help protect, preserve, and cultivate these plant medicines and working in accordance with the county, state, and federal governments. So I've literally spent over 20 years doing this, not only doing my own individual initiate work with the plant medicines in safeguarding and the protection and safety and the rehabilitation for people with these ailments of PTS, trauma, diseases and things of that nature that these plant medicines can heal. But, to actually go ahead through working with governments, counties, in our filing and direct communications and things of that nature. And the cultivation and preservation was one of my key principles in working with these plant-based medicines. In 2011, going back a little bit, a quick preview, that I began working with ONAC, Oklahoma Native American Church. I was gifted to work with a branch, to have my own branch, to start even furthering that exploration and working with the state, county government, and federal bodies there. So that's what I was doing in Safeguard, doing everything that I knew possible in mind, body, and spirit, also being guided by the plant medicines to do everything in the up and up, working with rehab centers, behavior health programs, individuals in private meetings with different government people that actually needed some assistance there in private meetings, working with this medicine. Success. Challenges would occur, of course, but always in direct communication with these governing bodies in my local region, in my community. Going back to date about a year ago, for those that haven't been listening to these casts, February 2nd, Groundhog's Day, 11:30 a.m.
Now, Adam, let me stop you real quick. So just to recap, because this is how most people get into this type of work, is you were just seeking the plant medicine for your own personal healing, saw
Correct.
saw tremendous growth with these plant medicines, as anybody who does come in proper contact with them will. And in the beginning, you were like, okay, I just need to heal myself, but then found the medicine had another agenda and started bringing people to you, correct?
Exactly, yes.
And so, of course, when you have that kind of a calling on your heart, you have to look at supreme law, which is the law of Great Spirit or God or Stanley in my case, and then man's law, and you have to kind of reconcile it. So you're going through this journey of, okay, how can I help heal myself and other people along with the agenda of the sacraments and not end up in a cage? So so then, and we're going to have Flaming Eagle, James Mooney, come on and talk about Oklahoma, which is, I've always looked up to the Oklahoma Native American Church for what they do. So, and me and you have talked about this off of the podcast many times, so I know the story, but you went above and beyond to meet and exceed any type of requirements or licenses that the state or the government would ask of you to simply engage in your First Amendment. And so this is 20 years you've been doing this, and you've had all of these licenses, all of these permissions. You've been working with local law enforcement and anyone who needs to know that you're having a ceremony. And so everything was fine until Groundhog's Day of last year. That's
Correct. Yeah.
pretty accurate assessment.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Everything was fine until Groundhog's Day, 11:30 a.m. 2021. Something had changed in, I would have to say, in the eyes of the government or whoever was watching or whoever staged. Basically, this was a staged, let's say, raid. You know, it had to been prepared. Yeah, I was being. They said it themselves in the affidavits that they were watching me for at least a few months, if not more, of potentially or possibly my illegal activities, that I was using the Native American church in indigenous ways, or these quote unquote dangerous drugs to influence their community or do otherwise that they thought as a drug dealer would do. Completely opposite. We are in the works to rehabilitate, individuals, and along with their families and communities, and we do not fit the criteria of a drug dealer, and even in the money sense, we will not turn anyone away for lack of any money. This is, as a minister of an international Native American church, we are here to be of service to the people and for the people, and that's our God-given right and our duties here. And so what they found was a minimum, of less than $300 of cash in my whole place and on me at the time, and that's it. Um, so long story short, basically, my church has been, since Groundhog's Day, has been devastated. We lost the home, the church, um, over $575,000 of our Arizona Green Gold, um, CBD company that we were just about to begin launching, along with our other sacraments that were collected. They call it after deer ceremonies, or the deer hunting, working directly out of Texas and working with them on the preservation and cultivation and getting these. You also have what they're called roadmen from Native American churches, legal people with utilizing, like myself, with the correct documents and papers to help our roadmen to be able to get the sacrament, peyote, or these cactus medicines. So it was deer season, so we had just gotten that legally from a legal distributor in Rio Grande, Texas, and that's part of the sacraments that they had confiscated, along with other San Pedro cactus and other superfoods from Peru that I had. Well,
Superfoods? You had superfoods? You are a criminal, Adam.
yeah,
let
we
me
had
let me
super cacao, maca, camu camu. I was importing superfoods from Peru to bring health and well-being, non-sacramental, to bring people's vibration and healing up.
Sure, because most drug cartels have, superfoods on hand, right? So when you say they, like they, are you talking about? You're not talking about the Arizona, like, are you? I think the paperwork that I read said that there's a local organization that performed the raid called, can't make it up. It's called PANT.
Yes. Yeah, pant. So,
Like,
so s- apparently, Homeland Security, because I was importing superfoods
What?
from Peru, Homeland Security handed I would believe that's the federal government handed it over to this agency, PANT, Partners Against Narcotic Trafficking, in collaboration with the local sheriff's department, and they work together with the state to then go about and proceed with the raid.
now PANT, PANT's funny. PANT stands for Partnership Against Narcotic Trafficking, but it is funny, it's because they want to get in your pants. So it's like, so Department of Homeland Security basically said it's not our gig and pounced it to the local level. And then this organization, PANT, got a hold of your story, and they're the ones who conducted an investigation and raid, or am I
Yeah.
incorrect?
Yeah, correct. With the local sheriff's departments, Yavapai County sheriff's departments. I've sat with them. I've done numerous events over 20 years in the community. I've sat there with other people that partake in medicine, the sacrament at that time before it was even legal, cannabis, sitting there talking to the sheriffs, knowing that we're ministers, the same sheriff's department, and also notifying that we will be having a Native American church meeting with these sheriff departments, filing declarations of church location, religious beliefs, declaration of religious beliefs with these departments. And so I would have never expected, other than them knocking on the door, let's sit down and have a meal. Tell me, Mr. Adam DeArmon, what are you really doing here? And I would say, sir, this is exactly what I'm doing. This is what we've been doing. And we've been truthful all the way through. And
But that's not how it went down, is it?
this is not how it went down.
And and if it doesn't cause any triggers, because I know dealing with anybody with guns and badges and tanks is a traumatic event. But how did it go down? Did they come in peaceably? Not? Were they armed? Were they how did it go down?
from what I could see, there was at least 15 armed personnel with, it looked just pretty much like the raid movies you'd see on, television here. They were in at least two vans that slided doors, white vans coming out, unmarked vans. Stormtroopers jumped out on either side with ram bars, fully vested up like they were in Afghanistan or something. And at that point, they had already
Good
had,
Lord. That's
they,
insane.
along with the sheriff's departments and probably 8 other cars minimum. And I would say there was 5 different agencies. You probably had an undercover agency, you probably had PANT, you had sheriff's department, local police, and I think some kind of other, or DEA, or I don't know, some kind of investigators that were sent in for the lab or the test what's going on. Or
And what time of day or night was this? Because we have a problem with no-knock warrants in Georgia and the surrounding area. So was this during the day when you would expect it, or during the hours when
Yep.
you and your family would have been sleeping?
This was during the day at 11:30 a.m. I was actually on my way to get breakfast. Again, we every day we had worked on our industrial hemp, state approved industrial hemp farm. So I was going to get breakfast for my family, my partner Tiffany, and the crew there. There was 1, 2, 3, 4 of us on site at the time. And yeah, lo and behold, actually, when I was on my way to breakfast, the sheriffs were around the corner. They were staging this. They were around the corner and they saw my car, and then they pulled me right over and just got me in right away. Handcuffed me, put me in the car, and then made me watch the raid. They pulled me in front so that I could watch everything that transpired, pulling my father out of the house and the crew and the team. And I partner Tiffany down out of there while she was in the middle of a prayer service for the Native American church on Zoom. Like,
I have a question. Are you on native soil, or are you on? I mean, there's the discrepancies. Like, are those agencies coming on the reservation and getting you, or?
so here's the deal. This is what I did. It's a home, it's a residency, but we have the right as a minister. I had registered the house in ONAC of Ixal, Oklahoma Native American Church of the International Center of Spiritual and Ancestral Wisdom. I had registered with the state and the county. I filed documents that this is a church location, federally recognized church in the state and county, all approved, all submitted knowingly, that's in the county records.
All right, I understand.
Yeah, so this wasn't a reservation, but we have rights as our ministry
Sure.
to establish.
Were any of the in during this raid, are any of the law enforcement are on this raid like familiar to you in any way? Are you familiar with any law enforcement in your community, and were these ones that raided you familiar to you in any way?
I could say I think they were more of the pant operation from the outskirts and sort of like undercover. Believe but it felt like somebody or something. There was some kind of sting, whether it was the neighbors or a setup or not speaking the truth or making up stories in their investigation. But and tell you the truth too, I was so you get in that space and I was pretty much started being in shock, like I could not believe what
Oh
was
no,
taking.
absolutely, I understand that. Do
So
you
yeah,
let me ask you this: before that, before the raid, and your inner workings as a church, did you have a relationship with like your local either county sheriff or like do you have a any sort of a relationship at all with your local PD, and they weren't involved, or you don't have a relationship or anything like that?
well, they pretty much knew over the years, I'm sure, if they've watched or, like I said, some of our events, we would put on the local sheriffs, they'd come out and check, and they see, they knew we were a Native American church. The local police would talk. They'd ask me if I got pulled out. Hey, you got your headlight out, Adam? Oh yeah, I'm a minister. We run these ceremonies. I'm a ceremonial man. In those formalities. Also, I was working. I have paperwork and documentation working with the National Forest, federal government agency, for over 6 years. I have documents that's showing that we were working with our peyote ceremonies, Native American church, finding designated sites in our local county, totally transparent, working with them. So they knew that we were those agencies. Now I know they're different agencies, and they knew that we were, on this such and such a month, we were going to have a peyote ceremony, and we call them up and say, hey, we need, 24, 48 hours, and please stand by, and
Sure.
we're good to
What
go.
what's your membership? What's your membership? I mean, saying about this, like your church membership, the people that come to you regularly. Are they scared now? Are they? I mean, has this like really? I'm imagining that this has really trampled on their rights as well, and now they're frightened and traumatized because
Ab-
their minister and their church is.
Absolutely. So many people. I mean, I used to communicate with people every day and every month, and everybody's running scared. They're running scared. The ministry shut down. There's no more services. There hasn't been for since this happened. They're scared. What does Adam really do? Is Adam
Right,
going?
because they're vilifying your name. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't want to take up too much of the time here, but what's the next thing on your plate then? You got rated in 2021, and now they're going to try to run you through the ringer, I'm guessing. What's the next bit?
Well, as far as legally, as far as I can understand, I just spoke to my lawyers. Basically, what we're looking at is some kind of plea deal. They're just starting to bring that up, some kind of plea deal, and then they say otherwise we're going to be going to trial. So, and I asked, we've been basically saying I'm pushing dismiss this case, dismiss the case, dismiss the case, drop the case. Like I've shown you, the DA has so much information at hand right now and papers in their hand that shows how everything I spoke about, they have it in their hands. So he said there's no way that they're going to do this. They're going to try to get me for something.
What?
So,
Who's your? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I see a railroad job here. That's a total railroad job, and I'm getting Daniel. I'm getting upset. So
Understood. Mute out for a second and let it cool out of your ears.
okay. I
Adam,
just want to know. I just want to know, like, do you have a great lawyer that you love and want, or do you got some public defender that's going to throw you under the bus?
well, I've got a good. I do believe I've got a good lawyer. I've used all the funding that I had. There was Tiffany and I. We've raised probably over $35,000 that have come in, that have paid up to date. At this moment, the funding that is coming in, which is very little. I just had another donation today, thank God, through direct communication with a friend that has supported me. But is so I like the lawyer. Of course, this is a new platform for me, working with lawyers. I think they do understand that I'm a church, but to be able to get a different lawyer or to proceed, we're going to need a lot more resources. If we are going into trial, we're going to need quite a bit of resources, and or someone else, a counselor, to come in or to start working or telling deeper of my story. We'll have to pay them to get a deeper story. I really haven't shared with the general public a whole lot right now, other than these interviews.
Understandable. Yeah.
Yeah, you know my story here, but yeah.
So I'm sorry. So you like your attorney. Is your attorney that you're with now talking about doing the deal or going to trial?
well,
Are they encouraging you to do one or the other? Or that might be too much
yeah,
information.
that's too much
I
with this
mean,
court date
okay.
so close. So
Sure,
we'll back it up a little bit
understood.
on that. But Adam,
Okay.
let me ask you
Edit it
this,
out.
because,
Edit
and
it out.
I will let people know that the links to your GoFundMe to help you with this campaign are in the description boxes wherever people are listening to this, whether it's Spotify or YouTube or anything. We are going to put the GoFundMe link there, and I do encourage people to please, if you're going to have a soda today or a coffee, go one day without one, and please donate to Adam's Defense Fund. And the reason that I'm going to say that, and then I want to get back to some questions with you, because I want to go back to the day of the raid, is because in my personal estimation, and Dave and Nick knows that I'm the legal eyeball for the Cannabis Collective, where we also protect people who are preservers and administrators of plant-based medicine, that this is a precedent-setting case in this area. Unfortunately, as you and I have said, it's your head on the chopping block, Adam. So
Yeah.
you're the one who's having to go through it. And I honestly believe that there isn't a better person to stand out front for this landmark case, because in my opinion, this is a landmark case, and I'm confident that you'll win it. So the links for his GoFundMe defense fund are somewhere in description boxes wherever. Guys, please just take a second and donate a coffee or something, because this could literally help change the course of how the First Amendment is properly or improperly interpreted for quite some time. So we had Tiffany on previously, and of course she's always welcome to come back on. So I want to go back to the arrest, because I want people to really understand, Adam, how traumatic it is when the state steps in to, quote, enforce law or legislation that is inferior to the supreme law. So from where we're at, you went to go get breakfast, they stop you. Everyone else is, in the facility unaware that this is going to happen.
Right.
So like after they detained you, when they wanted to show you the raid, was it like we want to be above board? so that you were aware of just how fully we're violating your rights, or was it more of a rubbing your face in the fact that some organization that has a vested interest, pant, to come against you unlawfully, so that they could just rub your nose in it? What was the feel?
The feel was, I feel this was a tactic that's been used for thousands of years, a psychological warfare. Psychological warfare, meaning if they can crush you and get you to even believe this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to do it, this is our power, and we're implementing it on you and your family and your operation. We want you to see this firsthand and the power that it's going to take us to come in with all these weapons and all these ram bars and slam the people on the floor and bust open their heads and everything. You know, that they bust a perfectly innocent young woman that was working with us. I mean, it is a psychological warfare, and to do it, three guys that they wanted us to see. You know, they had their generals. It was just like a military op. General standing here, sheriff's here, lined up in order. I mean, this was a staged procedure to psychologically sort of crack me down.
And me and the other fellows have been talking about this. Would you say that peace officers were indistinguishable from the military on that day?
Right. Yeah. These were not like I said again, I've spoke to many police officers, many government agencies, you name it. I can go on and on and on. And this was not, this was a show of power. This was what I witnessed. Is I saw teenagers running around with high artillery weapons that could really have hurt somebody, and there was no need at all for any of that to take place or transpire.
Did they have a Lenco Bearcat?
They probably did.
um
If it
oh,
was
They
if
have
they had
any
an armored vehicle,
You know
yeah.
what an up armored vehicle is? Did they have any up armored vehicles?
No, these were sheriff's vehicles, and they were staged around the community. So I don't know how far in depth. Like I only had a certain view to be able to look at the
But you're
time.
in the car. Yeah, you're
That was
lost.
it. But they
So
had definitely staged. So they position every car. They must have mapped out how they're coming in, how they're gonna, you know what I mean?
so you didn't, like, when they were going into the facility, you were detained in the car the whole time?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They had gone in. We were one of my helpers, she had gone in. She had just arrived like 2 minutes right before they came in, parking her car and shutting the gate, and they just went into the gate, and in front they broke off in two teams, and then the sheriff's department stood back. The high artillery went first, and sheriff's department stood back until after they were done and secured the scene.
Right. And no
What
shots fired, but there was like some physical roughing up of
what
the
were
people that were there with you.
what were the first ones getting labeled? What were they labeled on their backs? Just police?
I think Pan, it was black. It to me it looked like it wasn't khaki military, but it was all black. And I think it said pant on the. Again, I was just like, I just go into prayer. Like when they nabbed me, I just started going to prayer and just started breathing because I know my system and my body. I was definitely going to go into shock, and I was like, oh my gosh! But I didn't resist or fight. I wasn't angry. I was there to say calm down, and with my they put my dad in the police car with me and started separating everybody out. But
But the guys, the insignia, everybody that was in the raid was indistinguishable from everybody else. You didn't know who was a sheriff, who was a local, who was FBI. You had no idea who was who.
no, they didn't tell me. They didn't say, "Miss, we're going in, and this is who we are, and this is what we're doing." Once they got me, they pounced. Once they got me, they went in. Like it was full force operation. Yeah, yeah. There
So
was no. I saw no warrants. The only warrants, the pink slips that I saw, which you cannot read to date, there was no warrants. There was no, we have a warrant to come in. My dad was asking for a warrant. The other lady was asking. No warrants were showed until when I got out of jail, is when, after I got bailed out, is when I saw the pink slips that were on the table. But you couldn't, to this date, I still don't know what they say. You know,
Well, Daniel, if the law enforcement comes, if the law enforcement comes to his place of business, who is Pant? Where does Pant get its authority? Pant isn't a recognized law enforcement agency, right? There's a sheriff's department, there's a local department, and there's a federal department. And who is Pant? Where does it get its authorization?
From everything that I've read leading up to the case, the Partnership Against Narcotic Trafficking is a cooperative of different quote unquote law enforcement officers in his area in Arizona. So it's a task force. Like the here in Georgia, you have the Houston County or the Perry Drug Task Force. PANT is just another task force with a collection of people with guns and badges. You know what I mean?
So it's indistinguishable. He doesn't know if it's his county sheriff or his
No,
local department or FBI.
they don't. I mean,
It's some other random something.
well, when they're doing a raid like that, Patrick, they don't want you to know. They don't want you to. They want you in
But
shock.
right, because there's no accountability. If nobody
Right.
knows, then there's no accountability.
Right. So Adam, when they all went pounced in there, I can only imagine, and we've had Tiffany on before, that all of you guys were in shock and have suffered trauma from it. But what exactly was it that they ultimately charged you with, for what sacraments? If and what tell people listening exact, because I know how much they took from you and your livelihood with your crops and things like that. But tell people in as itemized as you can what the state of Arizona took from you and did to you based off of what appears to be. I mean, they didn't even show you a warrant, so that's even sketchy. But tell people like what they took from you and for what sacraments, which are a part of your First Amendment.
yeah. So basically, to date, um, there were 635 items that they took from my home. Now I couldn't. So 635, including all the way from my pictures to computers to cell phone to my superfoods. You can imagine, I had many different cacao, camu camu, maca, on and on and on. We work with peyote. I had live over 20 some years of cultivation, preservation, working with the huichol people from Mexico, working with the gardens from Texas, and on this cultivation and the preservation. So 420 some 25 plants, over 20 some years old. Some of them were 30 some years old, were completely destroyed, uprooted. I mean, you can never. I've spent over 20 years doing that, and numerous of years and resources to do that and safeguard and protect it for the future generations. We had dried, they call them chips, and powdered peyote, and there was what they're calling mescaline, was also San Pedro with chuma. What they said they confiscated so many pounds of psilocybin, which they tested the psilocybin, and there's no psilocybin. I think the case has them spinning. There's so many things that they're saying that are dangerous drugs. We're still up to date saying where are the dangerous drugs, and where is what you're talking about, the ring that you're talking about. So basically, they're stating, I don't have it pulled up right now, but we've got several counts of dangerous drugs for sale, possession, and use. So you got 3 or 4 counts there, and then you got 4 counts, I believe, of paraphernalia, and then peyote, possession of peyote, or for sale. So there's about 10 counts. Now, I haven't been convicted of these counts, but those are the counts that they're looking at to charge me at. I mean, and also marijuana, over the limit of marijuana, industrial hemp farm. Again, that I had an industrial hemp farm, totally state approved and applied to every law above and beyond hundreds and hundreds of papers and documentations, lab testings recognized by the state of Arizona. Also, with a cannabis license that I had just started with the legalization of cannabis in the state of Arizona, working off, I had 2 patients that we just began a few months in for growing for 2 patients to the T, to the limit, with no flower, just a few of the cannabis plants, along with we were staging our industrial hemp. So as spring comes, then we can continue. So we had a whole pre nursery going and grow, preparing for our infrastructure. Over $100,000 of the industrial hemp, let alone separate from that. That's $100,000 that was also borrowed, and that to set up this infrastructure for the hemp, industrial hemp. And our goal was to bring that medicine to the people. And we had just finished processing with the state labs and everything. There were over 2 weeks. We had just received all of our products, our salves, our tinctures and oils. We were ready to give back to the community, and also make our sales to help our $100,000 investment for industrial hemp farm.
So was that all that medicine destroyed or taken into their custody or both?
At,
Or
at this point, well, I can tell you one thing: if they haven't planted the green medicine, that's destroyed. They put it in a bag. We had we had a big bag, actually a great success. You know, the hemp, I'd say it's however they stored it or whatever. We had bulk hemp, industrial hemp. That's probably, who knows? I mean, they'd have to store it. We had a big bag. There was 300, I think over 300 pounds of the industrial hemp. No THC, not even 1% THC. They thought they had the heyday with that. No THC at all. Um, and then the grow room with that. So all the plants are destroyed. All my lightings were taken. They took mismatched parts to the operation. Gone. The peyote and the other sacraments and the San Pedros and everything, we have no clue. We have no clue if they destroyed it. The CBD bottles, we have no clue. I've asked for that back from day one, and they know it's legal. They know that they have all the papers. So I just don't get
you
it.
don't get it.
They don't get it. Like,
There's nothing to get. I mean, if it made sense and it was lawful, there would be something to wrap your head around, but I totally understand. So,
yeah.
and of course, today's the 20th of February, so you have your first hearing in 2 days?
Yeah, Tuesday will be, well, I've been going to court. This is numerous times already. And most of the courts, they keep what do you call it, postponing and moving back. And this was the first time that recently the lawyer said, "Hey, look, they're going to plea you, or we're going to trial." But I've also asked for, go back. We need to find out what, like, the whole original indictment, like, who's in charge of it. Like, we got to go back to the original indictment. Where's the information? I haven't seen the pink slips. Why aren't we going back to the original probable cause? And why
Hmm.
are you even guys moving forward if they know they've got in their hands my hundreds of documents that show everything?
And I know that's true because I've seen it. And I want to ask you one more question, and then open it up to Dave and Nick and Jason to kind of to open it up. Ask any questions they have. But Tiffany, who we've had on with you before, she was also charged with very similar charges. Yes.
Yes, yeah. She was, apparently, um she had a chief. Chiefs are a peyote, very specifically a peyote button that is used as the chief or the head for the ceremonies, and it was in a container. And they said that she was working with me in distribution or something, and holding illegal, dangerous drugs in this container. Now, long story short, without getting into her case much, she was dismissed a few months ago, and they won't even admit. They say, "Come pick up your necklace." They're like, "Come pick up your necklace." They won't even admit that actually they took her sacrament, which she's legally and has all the documentations to carry this one peyote button, and it's not a necklace. This is actually a peyote button.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that point up that they charged her and she's already been to her appearance and they've dismissed it. So it's like, I know that me personally and the fellas here, we're all praying for a dismissal for you on Tuesday, which, I mean, anything other than a dismissal would be very, very ignorant on the state of Arizona's part. But, states do what states do. So, Dave, you got anything you want to add? Make some comments about this, because I mean, this directly affects what we do with CannaSense. So it's like, what do you think about all this mess? And you got any questions for Adam about this?
Not really questions. Just the whole thing about it going to get tested and coming back negative for everything. Like, what do they have? What are they doing? It's retarded. I don't know.
Yeah. And what makes it even more ignorant is it's like, can you get any more First Amendment? That's what I'm screaming. Is like,
Yeah.
this dude's an indigenous guy. It's obvious that all of these sacraments are a part of his First Amendment. What part of that do you not understand, Pant? But then again, it is what it is. Nick,
I also don't understand the whole thing about throwing you a plea deal.
then we'll get to that. We'll get to the plea, but because I want to discuss that. But Nick, go ahead.
That's what I don't get. I think they're trying to rely on those shock tactics to trick you into a plea deal and into self-incriminating, and that's not the way to go.
So they can turn around and say,
do anything
"Ha
wrong.
we got you."
Right. You didn't do anything wrong, so there's nothing to admit. There's nothing to plea to.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Patrick, you got anything on that?
I mean, to me, it's just a shock and awe thing that they want to try to dazzle. They want to try to get a jury trial and dazzle them with bullshit, and right, and it's just stupid. I can't even believe it. I don't know what to say. If they believe they really got him, they're going to try to use all this massive pile of evidence and then whatever little tiny bullshit that they have and pull a white rabbit out of a hat, right? It's basically a magic show where they wave a wand over it and say, "Oh, look, a guilty rabbit," right? It's just dumb. I'm irritated by it.
Yeah, it's an irritating thing whenever the state does that. But as far as the plea deal goes, and a plea deal is an invitation to say you did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So
yeah, it's not something I want to go for. They're just I think I pretty much know that they're tired. The courts are tired of it. My lawyer's tired of it. The prosecution, I swear you not, like I think it was the second or third time in court that I actually showed up when now I'm living in Arizona, which again, they gave me permission to leave the state of Arizona to live here and to restart my life. The judge gave me permission. But I'm there sitting in the court looking at the DA, and literally I saw, they're shaking. It's like, "You handed me this case," and like, what, and he was stuttering, like, and the judge is asking him, "What's going on?" And my lawyer's like, "This is a complex case. Well, no." I'm like, "No, it's not." And the judge is like, "No, it's not. Like, tell me what's going on." And
you haven't waived your right to speedy, have you?
No.
Good. Don't waive whatever you do. Don't waive your right to speedy. There's nothing complex about this. Don't let anybody lie to you and say that there is, and stick them to the wall. There's just, you know what they're doing, Daniel. I know what they're doing. I know exactly what they're doing.
I mean, it does seem like the DA is just either being stubborn or hoping that he can bluff with nothing in his hand from everything that I know, because it's like, you already let Tiffany, like, you dismissed it. You already did that, and she was there.
It's a giant bluff.
Yeah, but it's necessary because, like I said at the beginning of this, I think that Adam, and of course it's your call, but if you stick to your guns and you continue to lean on your spiritual beliefs, which are protected, then we've seen Stanley. I call the Great Spirit Stanley. That's just me. Welcome to my cult. But we've seen it move, you know, in some really powerful ways and stuff like this. And you and I have talked about this off the air. It's like if there's ever a time for this country to heal from collective and individual trauma, it's now. And if there
Yes.
is the fast way to do it, it's through these plant sacraments. So it makes sense that you came under, you know, a scope,
Mhm.
because, in my opinion, your calling to set up the trade routes and preserve these medicines is a divine calling that we need right now. So this is par for the course. So
Yeah.
you know, our prayers are always with you.
Yeah,
But
that's what I wanted to share briefly once again with the people is that we have to continue. The medicine, my elders told me that I have to speak on behalf of the medicine. The medicine doesn't speak English or any of these other languages this time. I have to speak on behalf. And we do have further plans and working in cooperation with the governments, with the governing bodies as we have. So as the resources come in and the teams like CanaSense and others, we can join the alliances, we can come together and we can fill out the appropriate documents and with my case happening at the moment right now, we can show, you know, the processes of how we've done our best and we'll do even better of working together to protect and safeguard and bring these medicines to the people. I mean, that's it will be done.
yeah, and the benefit is, of course, we all got to meet, and you know, we formed our alliance on this whole situation, moving in the right direction. But one of the things that I do want to point out to people is that your GoFundMe isn't just it's not just for your legal defense; it's for actually rebuilding, right?
Yes.
But
Okay.
one of the things we want to talk about is that the GoFundMe isn't just for your legal defense. So in essence, what we hope will happen is that in 2 days your case will be dismissed, but that doesn't mean that people do need to be negligent towards your GoFundMe, because they've irreparably financially and with resources set your ministry back. And that must be rebuilt no matter what happens Tuesday. So if you could talk more about that and why it's absolutely critical for people to come in and support you. You know, we can't, Team CanaSense is doing what we can, but we're one entity. So if you could, yeah, tell people why it's so important that GoFundMe is contributed to, please.
Yeah, yeah. So again, all of you can only imagine that are listening here what it takes to pay lawyers and pay writers and get all the press out there. And thank God to CanaSense and a handful of, you know, friends and family that are helping financially, just so that I can, you know, sustain. Right now, I went from a home and 5 acres of land to living in an RV over the last year. I can do it. Do I want to do it? No, I could, you know, yeah, I can't do my ministry here and have people and be a counselor and a guide and a practitioner, you know, to be helping people out of my RV. It's just not. And I'm also, you know, on a piece of property, so, you know, with some friends and relatives here. So basically, yeah, we need to build a foundation. You know, when your steeple's cut off of your church or your home, you have no home. That's number one. So literally, I have to start from scratch. I owe, like I met the minimum of over $100,000 in the loans and bargain, you know, partners that were working with us for the industrial hemp farm. There's no replacing the green medicine there. You can only imagine what that take, and the mission of preservation and cultivation of 20 years of work. You can only imagine what that would take to even begin to start from seed again, or with the plant materials, along with all the plants and the sacraments that were devastated, so, you know, that were set up to help people for the next 6 months or within the next few years. So the infrastructure and the mission that I've already done, I know how to do it. I know what we're going to do. I know we're, you know, as a team together with CanaSense and other organizations that could come in, so we can build these places, rebuild them, and I can help guide and be a part of those teams for the preservation and the cultivation of these medicines. So these resources, that's a minimum just to help me, you know, eat food, stay healthy. Again, I've been doing therapy ever over a year now. I never had PTS. I never had trauma and stress. I was always helping people with PTS, veterans. I had DEA, police officers on the lowdown, helping them, through their PTS, veterans through their PTS, going to war and back. Now I'm having to get that myself. Therapy. This is how high I can lift my hand right now because of how when they pull my arm back, it's still, I got this torn, this muscle is still torn right here so I've been going to therapy, massage therapy, acupuncture when I can with the resources that I have. So you can only imagine, what it's taking, and to uplift my spirit and my mind and body and emotions to keep going to make this happen. Because I tell you, the first 6 months, for those that are listening, I wanted to walk away from everything, people, places, and things. I got in the space that is like, what happened to my life? What did I do? And of course, who's the first one to blame? Yeah, okay, the people, the police, but I'm well trained up knowing that it's something within inside of me that I had to take a look at and work on. So the therapist is working the therapy on himself and also getting it, and going through all that. And thank God that I have the sacraments in this way of life and Mother Nature to be able to assist, um, me in this process, like that I can actually get through it and say, yes, this is my life. I had my roadmen and elders and leaders. I was like, I'm done. And they came to me and said, either you go home, either you're going to go back home, die, or walk away. I can't do it. They started coming, and people are still coming for ministry. But I'm like, at the moment, I need to take care of myself. I need to, heal myself. And we have a plan. I have a plan to work with Cannabis Senses, to work with the ONAC, Oklahoma Native American Church, International Center of Spiritual and Ancestral Wisdom, and other allies and organizations, because now I just got a way bigger plan, and all that I've done already, I want to share that with others. So
Yeah,
that's where the monies will go to inspire others, to protect others, so that this does not have to happen to anybody else.
and it's funny you say that. It's like, yeah, the therapist who's been treating people with anxiety and PTSD, then they have to actually get it and be, to empathize. I can very much empathize with that. But and you also know that your mission is very important to me, because DePuma, he was with me after my mom shuffled off, which caused, a lot of micro traumas for me. And I think Dave was probably the first person I called. I had never gotten into anything other than cannabis for recovery until after my mom crossed over, and my first was with an ONAC medicine woman with San Pedro. And
Yes.
so, when I first put that sacrament into my body, for one, the farthest description would be dangerous drug ever. like
Right.
that never would have come into my vernacular with San Pedro or any of the other sacraments that I've actually partaken of. So it's like, I know how much it has done to save my life, and me being me, wanting to share that type of healing with other people. Hopefully it's been transmitted to others. I think I don't think anybody on this call is bashful about saying that we're all in recovery from something, right? and
Yes.
and what you're doing is a critical component. And I could tell people, look, I've tried therapy and recovery without these sacraments, and it's doable.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really want to have enough quality of life left, if 10 years of talk therapy just isn't cutting it, you can condense decades into a very small amount of time with these sacraments. So, this is why your case is so important to me, and I want to focus on it. And I do
Yes.
encourage anybody listening, please like and share this, and please donate to the defense, because even after the 22nd, this is going to go for you and for people who are going to be behind you. This is going to go on a lot longer, because you need to rebuild. So,
Yes.
but
Absolutely.
so Let's see. We've been going at it for an hour, and I want to give you these guys any questions they have for you or any statements they wanna make. I want to give all of you guys that. But Adam, are there any kind of closing thoughts or closing prayers that you'd like us to join you in leading up to your first hearing? What do you got to say before I open it up to Nick and Dave and then Jason?
Well, I just want everybody to, if you're familiar with plant medicines or in the field of what's a lot called psychedelics, we could say. For me, I like plant medicines because you find these in nature, and that's how I found them, and they came to me naturally. Psychedelics is part of the era, maybe that came out of the hippie movement or things like that. I want to make it really clear too with the psychedelics or plant medicines that as a minister and as a man, that I'm not saying we want this to be for everybody and this is going to help everybody. I feel very strong about that, to have initiate medicine person, roadman, they call it, or a maestro or maestro, somebody that's well diversed and trained with the elders, with you know, each each individual sacrament, and or has been blessed and sanctioned, and also has the legal documentations. That's, I want to make that really clear. Like there's, for me, it's about transparency and in that manner, so I think that's very important. This isn't about having a Native American church, Adam DeArmon running out, giving everybody psychedelics because you want to, just get everybody high for a weekend celebration. This is about changing one's life and being transparent and responsible for your life, your family's life, and really going deep. And it may come to a point where this sacrament, any one of these sacraments, may be beneficial to you, or maybe it's something that's it you work with once and then you continue your life and your life's path. There's others like myself that the calling was there, it came into my life, and I'm here to help and assist, and it's helped me. So that's what I've learned. um, I have people come all the time or call all the time. Hey, we want to experience this or we want to have a ceremony. And I tell you, 99% of the time, I'm looking the other way, or I don't want to take the call or take the email and refer them to, someone or somewhere else, or saying I can't be of assistance. That's how dedicated I am to these plant medicines and how sincere I am to these plant medicines, and how dedicated I am for the preservation and protection legally for all of us, for every single individual, with the appropriate working with the state government, county, and all the officials. So I wanted to make that clear. And there's certain ones too, through consultation, um, that when people come, that we can say, hey, this is just too much, your psyche or your energy, to have the right sight, that, well, this wachumas may be better for you, this peyote, or well, maybe you should wait on an ayahuasca ceremony, these different plant medicines, and take your time, take 6 months, take to pray about it, not just because your friend or they went on a retreat or something like that, like, and really wait till it comes to you. Again, a reminder is, I let it go after working with these since my whole life. When this happened, I handed it over and I said, if the great mystery of all the plants and these sacraments, if I'm done, I'm done. I let it go. So, and my elders said, if it comes back, then they'll come back, and that we will come back. And they did some ceremonies. My elders came in, did ceremonies, and they said, it's a clear road. You're in the cleaning time, and it will come back. And that's the doors have not closed for any of that. The ministry must continue. The prayer must continue. The preservation must continue. And that's what I was chosen. I've been shown very clearly that's what I was chosen for, and to implement that. And if we've got to do this together through the courts and all that, that's what I'm here to do. And so, yeah, I'm just very grateful for this opportunity. I look for continuing to be able to share. I look for, like you said too, it's this is years to come of
Yeah.
work. And I think, and I know that it'll be very instrumental energetically and, on paper, that this case that we have at hand right now.
And I agree. It not only is this a huge case for plant medicine and healing, but it's the First Amendment. It
Right.
doesn't get it doesn't get any more simple than that. It's the First Amendment. I mean, so Nick, is there you got anything you want to shoot by Adam or us, or shoot your
Um,
load, dude?
I don't really have anything else to add, but I really appreciate you making it clear your mission, and I think that it's going to be important for people to realize the distinction between people that, especially as these plant-based medicines become more and more legalized in other states, the distinction between the use as a sacrament and the people that recreationally use and use it to be high and whatever, and how important that distinction is. So I appreciate that.
Yes.
Dave, what you got, man?
I couldn't help but crack a smile every time you said, make sure you have the legal documentation. I'm like, yeah, that don't even matter with these jerk offs.
Yeah.
They just rolled up on them and just took all this shit. No, yeah.
It's like, yeah, even when you do, I mean, Adam is a perfect case of even when you do acquiesce and fill out their paperwork, if they want your stuff, they're still going to go SWAT on you anyway.
Yep.
Which is a complete misunderstanding of the Bill of Rights. But
Rules
yeah,
for thee and not for me.
Yeah.
But I can't wait for our follow-up episode of the massive lawsuit.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So you got anything else,
Should
Dave?
be good.
Nah, that's it, man. Thank you, Adam, for everything.
Special guest host Jason Patrick. What do you got, my friend?
Man, I just want to tell him I'm really sorry that they're putting you through all this, and that that it's wrong on a million different levels. And I hope you have the fortitude to stick it out and not get strong armed by even your own attorney on some level. And I mean, I think the work you're doing is fantastic, and it helps a lot of people. And I'm blessed to have been on the show and listened to your story. And I just pray for you. I just pray that you'll get you'll get to the other side. And I hope you have a strong support system around you. And the other thing, Daniel, I'm trying to figure out, like, is he just a political pawn in an election year? I mean, it seems like he's been doing the right thing for a long time, and all of a sudden, right, the whole left-right paradigm.
I have a theory, Patrick, that we can discuss later as to why him and why when, but I don't, before his case goes before the judge, I don't want to, but I have theories.
So,
I don't believe it was just a coincidence. So go ahead.
Yeah, just thanks for coming on. Don't wear out, right? I hope you have somebody's give him my number. Call me. I have a ton of stuff I could tell you about dealing with what you're going to be dealing with over the next. Hopefully they drop it. Hopefully they just they come to their senses and go, "This is dumb. Just drop it." But if they don't, keep my number, because.
Actually, Adam, Patrick is here in Georgia currently, but he's actually flying out to your coast this week. So maybe the two of you can sit around a fire faster than we could.
Definitely, absolutely. There's you're getting railroaded, and I don't think they're going to succeed in any way, shape, or form. But there's I could tell you some things to look out for. I mean, I don't know if he knows who I am, but I've been there, not in the exact same situation, but I know what a railroad job is. And
we can. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get this one to the editing can as quick as we can, because time is of the essence. Because your hearing is let's see, the 22nd. But Adam, I mean, all the links are below. We're gonna spread it as far as we can and send it to as many people as we can. And you know that we're all praying for you and check in daily. So with that being said, everyone, I guess that's it. Roll credits. So